Welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Daniel, and in this video, we're going to teach you how to play Desperate Oasis from West Coast Games, who helped sponsor this video. Desperate Oasis is a head-to-head tactical card game where players are battling for control over these lush, life-sustaining sanctuaries in the middle of the desert. And you'll be doing that battling by playing a variety of animals who all have their own special powers and points that will contribute to each player's control of the oasis. The player who controls each oasis at the end of the round takes the card and scores the points shown, and the player with the highest score after 3 rounds wins. To set up the game, shuffle all of the oasis cards and deal out 5 face up into the middle of the table. Then shuffle the animal cards and deal 4 to each player and give each player 3 palm trees. Put the rest of the animal cards face down into a draw pile and remove 1 card from the game without looking at it. This card will stay out of the game for the entire round. And finally, pick a first player and you're ready to get started. On your turn, you'll play cards from your hand into the play area. Each oasis can have a maximum of 3 cards, and each card only scores for 1 oasis. When you're playing multiple cards on your turn, play them one at a time and fully resolve any animal effects before you play the second card. You have 3 different ways that you can play cards, and you're going to choose one on your turn. Option 1 is to play 2 animal cards face up anywhere on your side of the oasis cards. Option 2 is to play 1 card face up on the other player's side of the oasis, and option 3 is to play 1 card face down on your side of the oasis, and that card will get flipped over and its actions will be resolved at the end of the round before scoring. When you're playing cards, they have to go as close to the oasis as they can. You can't have any empty spaces in between cards in a column. And remember, you can have a maximum of 3 animals on each side of an oasis card unless you have 3 jackals, but we'll talk about the jackals when we get into the animal abilities at the end of the video. Now we need to talk about the rules of attraction. Animals will attract their own kind. What that means is when you play a card into a column, as long as there's space, it's going to pull any animals of the same kind into that column from adjacent columns. So playing this oryx into this column will pull this one from the adjacent column, and then you're just going to collapse down any holes that are made by that movement. If there's multiple animals that could be pulled over and there's not enough room, then it's your choice which animal to bring over. So when I play this camel, it could bring both of these over, but there's only 1 available space, so I can choose which one to bring over into this column. This magnetic effect is not optional, and it happens immediately after a card is played. And it only applies to the side of the oasis that the card is played on, so playing this camel here would not pull this camel to this column. The only exception to this is the portal oasis, which has the orange border and the arrows on it. When you play a card on the portal oasis, it's going to use those same rules of attraction to pull animals through the oasis from one side to the other. So if this player played an oryx on this side, it would pull both of these from my side to their side. And there's no limit to the number of times an animal can travel back and forth as long as there's room for it to happen. Each player also has 3 palm trees, which are like bidding chips. When you make a group of 3 of the same animal in the same column on your side of the oasis, like this player did here, you can put one of your palm trees on that card, and that palm tree counts as an additional point to whoever wins that oasis. You can play 1 palm tree per round, and if they're not used, they're gone. So if you don't play 1 in the first round, that doesn't mean you get to play 2 in the second round. It's 1 per round maximum. If you've already played your palm tree and you make another set of 3 animals, you are allowed to move your palm tree to that new oasis. And palm trees are only positive, so playing a palm tree on a -1 oasis just makes it worth 0. After you've finished playing your cards, and remember that's 2 face up on your side, 1 face up on the other player's side, or 1 face down on your side, draw back up to 4 cards and it's the next player's turn. The round ends when the draw pile is empty and 1 player runs out of cards. If you run out of spaces to play on your side, that means you have to play on the other player's side on your turn. And if the player who went first runs out of cards first, the other player does get 1 more turn. After the round is over, flip any face down animal cards that were played and immediately apply their effects, then tally up the total strength of each player on each oasis card. And the player with the most strength takes that card and keeps it to score at the end of the game. So for the first oasis, I have 11 and my opponent has 10, so I would take this oasis with the palm tree that's on it and save it for scoring at the end of the game. If players tie for an oasis, the card is discarded and nobody gets the points. Once all of the oasis cards have been scored, you're going to reset for the next round. Collect all of the animal cards, including the one that you set aside at the beginning of the round, shuffle those and deal out 4 to each player, then set 1 aside just like you did on the first round, and lay out 5 new oasis cards. In rounds 2 and 3, the player who scored the most points in the previous round goes first. The game ends after 3 full rounds. At that point, players will tally up their total score, adding up the value of each oasis card that they won, plus 1 point for each palm tree they won, and the player with the highest score wins. If there's a tie, players share the victory. Now let's talk about animal powers. Each animal has a different power that will be applied as soon as it's played on an oasis. When you play a scorpion, immediately destroy the weakest card on both sides of that oasis. So this scorpion will destroy this Jerboa and this jackal. And the scorpion you just played doesn't ever count as the weakest card, even if you play it into an empty oasis, and scorpions can only destroy face-up cards, never face-down cards. The Jerboa is only worth 1 point, but it really scares elephants on both sides of its oasis. Any elephants in an oasis with a Jerboa on either side will be worth 0 strength at the end of the round. If 3 jackals are in the same column on the same side of an oasis, a 4th space is immediately created, and that space can hold any animal. It doesn't have to be another jackal. The jackal can also be added as the 4th card, so I have 2 jackals and 1 oryx here, and I can add this 4th jackal because its ability triggers as soon as it's placed. If you have 3 camels in the same column on your side of the oasis, that column will have 1 additional strength, so this column would be worth 10 instead of 9. The oryx doesn't have any special powers, but it does have really cool looking horns. Elephants are very valuable, being worth 5 points, but they're also scared of mice, so they score 0 when they're in a column with a Jerboa. And finally, the chameleon mimics the strength value of the card that it's pointing at, but not its power. The chameleon has an arrow on it that can be pointed left or right, but not up or down. Once it's placed, its orientation can't be changed regardless of how cards move in future turns. So by playing it here, this chameleon is currently worth 4 because it's pointing at the oryx, but if this oryx got pulled to another column, this is going to collapse down, and now that chameleon is worth 2. And that's Desperate Oasis. If you have any questions, be sure to leave us a comment below and we'll answer as quick as we can. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.